Ooh. I'll run through maybe a couple with you. This is for assignment 12. So we'll go through maybe problem 1 and 2. And then as you encounter more questions, you're welcome to ask them. So today is the 6th. You possess all of the requisite skills. The only difference is like we've never actually used our system of equations skills to solve word problems before. You've done tons of word problems, like tons, but we've always just written one equation. And for the record, looking back, not that I'm going to have you go back and do old assignments, but if we were to go back and do some of those old assignments from first semester, we could solve a lot of them by using systems as well. Now that you possess that skill, the skill of solving a system. So just saying. Anyhow, let's take a look at problem 1. What are the two things that we're trying to figure out? Definitely, right? So we probably want to do a quick variable declaration like let f equal the cost of a French silk cheesecake. And then what would be the other logical variable to use? You could do S if your S's tend to look like 5s. You could do like a W or something since strawberry has a W in it. I'm going to do S because I can make my S's sometimes. That was a pretty ugly S, but I can generally make them not look like 5s. But again, if you struggle with that, then feel free to pick any variables that you like. So let S equal the cost of a strawberry. And I'm just abbreviating here. I don't need to write out the whole cheesecake thing. Like we know what we're up against here. And honestly, if you don't want to do this step, I'm not going to require it this time since I hope that you'll use contextually specific variables. If you're always going to use X and Y, then you should do a variable declaration. But again, if it's going to be like G equals the cost of a geranium and S equals the cost of sod, or A equals the cost of an adult ticket, C equals the cost of a children's ticket. If you're going to use those contextually meaningful variables, then I don't think that this step is as important. Okay. But again, if you're an X and Y lover, then you probably should, because X won't really stand for anything, nor will Y. I hope that makes sense. So anyhow, what we want to do is write 2 different equations this time. And could anyone read problem 1? I'll give you a moment and tell me what one equation is that has to be true. Tegan, you looked like you were ready. Okay, it'll be in the 3rd sentence. Okay, listen, the first sentence is honestly just informational, and the second sentence is also just informational. The 3rd sentence is going to give us a relationship that will allow us to write an equation. Anyone want to give it a shot? Very good. There it is. Wonderful. So our experience with word problems has us to the point where we're not scared. Like that 3rd sentence clearly states that if someone bought 6 of the French silks and they bought 9 of the strawberry cheesecakes, then they would spend a total of $276. So that's one equation, but that's obviously not enough. If you have 2 variables, you need 2 equations. So we're going to find a very similar equation from what I don't know how to pronounce it. Arjun, maybe? Arjun, what Arjun sold. So give me Arjun's equation.
6F plus 8F.
Very good. So 6Fs plus 8Ss equals 256. I asked the computer to mix them up. And so sometimes when we get our system, we're going to get a level 1. Sometimes we'll get a level 2. Sometimes we'll get a level 3. I have no idea. I didn't look at the systems. I just asked the computer. I clicked the little bullet that said any type. And so this time, can we agree this is a level 2? Right? We don't have to stress about the fact that it's a word problem. You saw this before when we did word problems. Once we survive the beginning of it, then it's just a math problem now for the next couple of minutes, right? We find ourselves buried in multiplication and doing stuff like that. So can I assume it's obvious to you that we definitely want to get rid of the F's? And substitution is not an appropriate selection here. If you love substitution, okay, that's good, but this is not a good time to try to use it because getting any of those variables by itself is going to suck. You're going to get fractions. So elimination is what you'll find yourself honestly probably using every single time, almost every single time. So we need to multiply either the top equation or the bottom equation by -1 to get the F's to cancel. Which one would you like to do? Top it is. So we're going to take the top equation times -1. And as I've said many times, rebuild the problem. Don't be a mad scientist expecting people to interpret your sketches, right? Be a communicator. So off to the right side, we have -6F minus 9S equals -276. And since we didn't do anything with the bottom equation, we'll just copy it across. So we have 6Fs plus 8S's equals 256. And we now have done what we were supposed to do. It's what we've been doing for a few days at least, and that is we got it down to a level 1. So let's add the equations together. Our F's cancel. How many S's do we get? So we have -1 or just -S. And then what's -276 plus 256? -20. So S must equal 20. There should be a thought in your mind, like if I get negative answers, there's going to be an issue, right? Like there's no way that one of the types of cheesecake costs $-. It just doesn't make sense. So as we go through word problems where it's like quantities of things or costs of things, positive answers are what we should fully expect. And now that S is 20, we have to go and find F. Which equation would you like? Bottom is fine with me. And so I'm going to take and put my S into the bottom equation right there. And you could have picked the top equation. You know that. So if I do the bottom equation, it will say 6F plus what? Tenemos que multiplicar 8 por 20, que es 8 por 20. Sí. Sí. Right? Remember, when you put it in, you're multiplying, right? And then you've got to just solve the resultant equation, the resulting equation, and you wind up with 6F equals what? Very good. Divide both sides by 6, and what is F? Yes, 16. So in a little bit of a twist, I don't think you need me to tell you this, but I would be remiss if I didn't. This is not an appropriate answer, right? It's not, I don't want to think of this as a point on a graph where two lines cross. That's not an appropriate answer for the context or the situation. So what we want to do in a case like this is we actually want to use words. I know that's sometimes one of the most annoying parts is how we have to you know, answer with sentences and stuff, but it is what it is. So I could say a
Strawberry cheesecake.
French silk cheesecake costs $16. And I'm sorry, Bryce, I just already started when you said what you said, so I didn't mean to just do the backwards order of what you said. And then we can say a strawberry cheesecake. And that's that. $20. And that makes sense because the strawberry cheesecake should cost more because it's undoubtedly going to be way more delicious than whatever the heck a French silk cheesecake is. Are you kidding me? Strawberry cheesecake for the win, right? I don't either. I haven't either, but I just, you can't beat a strawberry cheesecake or a raspberry cheesecake, you know? Walmart cheesecakes are good. So if you don't like the texture, then you just probably not you don't like pumpkin pie then either, I'm assuming. Yeah, which is interesting because I don't like pumpkin pie, but I love cheesecake. Do you? That's interesting. I don't like anything about pumpkin pie. If you put a pumpkin pie and like a fruit pie in front of me, I will 100% of the time choose the fruit pie. Apple, blueberry, razzleberry. Mm. We should, hey, you know what's coming up in about a month and 8 days? Come on. The date in 1 month and 8 days will be 3/14. Pie Day. We should bring pie on Pie Day. You guys want to bring some pies?
Yeah.
You can home bake a pie if you're into that kind of thing, or you can go to your favorite pie vendor and bring a pie. Because it's a pretty common practice in math classes all over this great land that on March 14th, we bring pie for, you know, Pie Day. So just saying, as the time comes near, let's, huh? Oh, wow. Unfortunately, I won't be with you at 1:59 p.m. or 1:59 a.m. I'll be sleeping, I hope. So did that make sense? Easy peasy, right? Let's do like one more. And then I think these problems are generally all cut from about the same cloth. It's about, you got to be able to read and you got to be able to just write a couple of equations. So let's take a look at problem 2. You'll see these again, the van and bus problem. And so we have to assume for the sake of these problems that the vans and buses are, I shouldn't even say assume, it says in the problem, but understand they get filled. So first off, what are our variables? No, don't say let V equal van, because that could be a lot of different things. What is V? The number of students in a van. Very good. And then what's B? Very good. So if you don't want your B's to look like 6s, then you could use capital letters here. So you could do like let V equal, and again, you don't have to do a variable declaration for these if you use context appropriate variables. I'm just going to do it because I don't want anyone that does it to think that I, you know, don't value what you're doing. So let V equal the number of students in a van. Remember, don't just say van because that's pretty ambiguous. And honestly, for the sake of what we're doing, it would work just fine. Number of students in a van, and then let B, I'm going to use a capital B, equal the number of students in a bus. So that's that. I won't grade you the same on these as I have in the past. So again, if you don't have that step, I won't take points off. So let's write an equation for the first situation for high school A. That's a pretty non-creative name for a high school. So for high school A, what would you say is a good equation?
B plus 12. 5.
Very good. So one van and 12 buses sent a total of 584 students. How about high school B?
11B plus 12B.
So they sent 11 vans and 12 buses and had a total of 664 students. And there's our system. And yet again, I think you'll find that this is a relatively simple system. By now, this ought to be like, easy. Who's more attractive, the V's or the B's? I like the B's. I can do way less math if I kill the B's. If I did the V's, I'd have to multiply the top equation by negative 11, and I would rather not. So let's multiply, how about the top equation by our negative 1? So that equation is now going to be negative V minus 12B equals negative 584. Could we have used substitution on this system? By sure, I think you mean, yeah, absolutely. Because that van on the top, the solitary V, would have been a good candidate. So if you're a substitution lover, this might have been an opportunity for you to use that. But I love elimination. It's give me a choice. It's what I'm almost always going to use. All right, let's add them together. How many V's do we get? How many B's do we get? None. And then what's negative 584 plus 664? 80. 80. Dividido por 10. 8. And then just go plug that back in. I can't think of a simpler place to put it. Follow the big blue arrow. I can't think of a simpler scenario than that. Because if you put it right there, you don't even have to multiply it by anything, right? So what would that top equation say? Nice. And as always, a little algebra you got to do, in just a little bit. Subtract 8 from both sides, you get 12. B is 576. Divide by 12, you get B equals what? 48. And so, yet again, we'd want to just write a couple of sentences. You could write one sentence with a comma in the middle. It's up to you. You could say a van holds 8 students, comma, and a bus holds 48 students. And you could put an exclamation point at the end of it if you really want to make your point, stated emphatically. You're going to find this is a pretty common theme. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? I mean, I say these problems are all relatively similar. Like once you're able to navigate, there's nothing to it. How about this? I'll pause the recording here, and then I'll let you guys just work. And if you have questions that you want to go over, then I'll unpause the recording and put that on there for whoever. Okay, sound good? All right. So I assume you did a variable declaration then? Okay, so which is which for you? Bless you. So you like X's and Y's. You might want to rethink this for the record. It just makes more sense to use G for grass and or actually, I guess you can't do that because there's geranium. So you could use like S for sod. I'll go with what you're doing, but you really should. Let's talk about the variable thing because it'll make more sense if you pick letters that actually stand. Like if we were going to do xylophones and yaks, then it would make sense to use X and Y, X for xylophones and Y for yaks. But anyways, let's do X and Y. So what did you choose to be your X? So X is the cost of the grass. And then you must have obviously then written let Y equal the cost of geraniums, cost of a geranium. Is that correct? Okay. So if I were going to write an equation, I'd have to write one for Jimmy and one for Mike. And so what do we know about Jimmy? Like how many units of grass did he buy? Yeah, and so 6 square feet, that we say that as square feet, not feet squared. So if Jimmy buys 6 square feet of grass, then that means he essentially purchased 6 units of grass, right? So he bought 6 X's. What else did Jimmy buy? So in your case, that's 10 Y's. And how much did Jimmy spend? Good. So now let's write an equation for Mike. Equals, how much did Mikey spend? Yeah. Are you with me? Again, the fact that it says square feet, the little feet with the exponents on it, that's not a math sort of thing. That's just how we measure flat items. Like if you were to measure a wall, no one ever looks at a wall and says, oh, that wall is, 140 feet. We flat surfaces we measure in square feet, right? And it looks like you should say feet squared, but that's not what we do. We say square feet. Are you good from here, you think? This is another level 2, right? It's like our third one in a row. I assume you're going to kill the Y's. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause it. Let me know if you want me to unpause it again, okay? So again, your C is citizens, senior citizens, and S is students. So your first equation is 7 of the C's, sailing the 7 C's, plus 6 student tickets equals 111. And then your second equation should be 5 senior citizen tickets plus 8 student tickets is equal to 135. So this is definitely a level 3 problem. Which variable have you elected to get rid of? Fair enough. I like that. So you get, I assume you got 35C plus 30S equals 555. And then your bottom should be negative 35C minus 56S equals negative 945, maybe? Is that, did you check my math? 945, yeah, okay. So we're going to cancel out our C's. How many S's do we get, Tegan? Mm-hmm. And what's 555 minus 945? I think it's negative 390, but again, it is Monday morning. You might want to keep tabs on my arithmetic here. And then when we divide both sides by negative 26, we should get S equals 15. Have we found your mistake?
Yeah, I have to find,
So you're good from here? Okay.